Welcome to the Skull King Football Podcast, presented by Fox DFS Firelines. Now, here are your hosts, Justin and Ryan Skullrood.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to another episode of the Skull King Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Ryan Skullrood, and tonight we are going to we've kind of gone over who we like and who we dislike over the last week or so in our shows, going over our top players at the main positions. Kind of skipping over defense and kicker, honestly, because defenses for the most part are pretty self-explanatory, and we tend to tell you to wait until late to draft them, and kickers can be somewhat random. There are the kickers that are over and over are going to be very good kickers consistently, but still the kickers can be just a little bit on the random side. So we tend to kind of avoid those, not really go too deep into those. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to go over a little bit of the news and notes kind of going around the fantasy football world right now. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a mock draft. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. And then this will be a 10-person PPR mock draft. And I believe from what I've seen, it looks like I'm going to be drafting from the 9th position. And the reason I'm going to be doing this is partly to prove a point that I saw someone tweet out this week that the zero running back draft strategy is not a good idea this year. And so my point tonight is to look to see if it's going to be a good idea. And really, no matter what I do, I'm going to say yes. It's still going to be a good idea. It's a very viable idea this year. That being said, I believe the zero wide receiver strategy could also be very viable. So it's just a matter of how you feel comfortable setting up your team, to be completely honest. So I'll kind of get into a little bit of draft theory, kind of my mindset in a draft, and how things could change. I could go in with a mindset and see how things are going and kind of change up a little bit. So that's kind of where we're going to be going with this tonight. So we want to start off with the news. Start off right now with Will Fuller is expected to return for the Houston Texans season opener against the Patriots. I think that Will Fuller is going to kind of be he's kind of a hit or miss. Last year, his percentage of catches that ended up in touchdowns was absolutely ridiculous. The problem is he misses a lot of time because he's injured quite often. So he's one of those guys that, if you want to draft him, kind of a bench guy, yeah, go ahead. I'm not putting a whole lot of stock in him being able to stay healthy. He also does have issues with drops. So that's something that's concerning to me. So that's Will Fuller. He will be ready if you do have him on your draft, or if you have a deep league, big rosters. So here's something minor that is, I'll be honest, is a little bit upsetting. Cameron Meredith has 0 catches on 48 preseason snaps. He is one of those guys that, some of us were expecting to really step into a role for the Saints, someone who could be really undervalued and underrated. I believe he was actually on Justin's list that we went over here on the podcast. Here's the thing. To me, it looks like he may have some issues actually getting into this offense. That's going to be more. They're still going to stick with Ted Ginn. Obviously, this is Michael Thomas's receiving core. That Ted Ginn may keep that number two spot, and then Cam may be 3rd or 4th down the depth chart. Who knows? It may be that he hasn't completely come back from the ACL that he suffered last year. So who knows where this is going? Something to keep an eye on, but for right now, he is a guy that you don't necessarily want to draft. He's definitely someone that you'll want to kind of leave on the waiver wire and just kind of keep an eye on. So, next up, Coach Gruden of the Washington Redskins says that Chris Thompson looks fantastic. He's ready to go. Jordan Reed is on pace to be ready for Week 1. I know that I can't remember which. I think it's the fantasy footballers have Rule 86. Whenever 86 is on the field, you play them. And that's the thing. That's their thing with Jordan Reed. Thing is, he has a different quarterback. Yes, he has a Alex Smith who threw a lot to Travis Kelce. So there's that. I just don't think that Jordan Reed can stay healthy enough. Chris Thompson really was having a great season last year before his injury. So, I think that if he is healthy, he's definitely a good back to have in the backfield for, the PPR. He's that kind of running back 2/flex that you want, that could really, really provide a spark for your fantasy team in an unexpected place. If I could look up, let me see real quick. Let me go to rankings. No, let's go to ADPs. There we go. Chris Thompson is going 80th overall as the running back 32. So he's a decent value if you're playing in 10-man leagues. He's right at the end of that 7th, beginning of the 8th round. So actually, no, sorry, 8th, 9th round is actually where he's going. So so that's he's a good value there. Definitely one of those PPR type of backs that you would look for, especially if you end up drafting kind of zero running back early in your draft. So, in practice, it looked like the Ty Montgomery was in pads. However, he was kind of watching from the sidelines. Running back Jamal Lewis appears a full go. Looks like Jamal Lewis is going to be the starting running back in this offense. I do believe that Ty Montgomery is going to get a lot of work, but it's mainly going to be third down, so that's going to limit him a little bit. Again, that puts him more in that pass down type of situation. But if you remember last year, they didn't, or 2 years ago, whenever it was, 2 years ago, they didn't run the ball a whole lot. It was mainly their running game was kind of like the Patriots. It was toss the ball out to the running back in the flats and let them run it. Montgomery's 2 real big games that kind of got him going. He had like 9 and 11 catches out of the backfield, back-to-back weeks. So that's the kind of outlook we're getting for Ty Montgomery. Is he's going to be that type of a back. Jamal Williams appears a full go. He's probably going to be the starter. It looks like was Aaron Jones. He's going to be suspended for the first couple games of the season. So really, it's Williams' job to lose. He may lose to Ty Montgomery. He may lose to Aaron Jones later on down the road. I don't know. But for right now, it's Jamal Williams is the guy to own for the most part in the Green Bay backfield. Titans wide receiver Rashard Matthews likes how offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur will utilize him in the new offense. Matthews is a guy that I haven't necessarily been targeting. I kind of hold off. I really think that Corey Davis, for the most part, is going to be the wide receiver there. He's going to be the big story in terms of the wide receivers for the Titans. And really, I think that Matthews could have some value. I'm just not actively going after him. He's one of those guys I'm willing to kind of wait on. And if I miss him on the waivers, all right. I'm not going to actively pursue him. The Athletics' Michael Sean Dugar reports that Doug Baldwin's knee is clearly close to returning fully. He will be ready for week 1. Doug Baldwin is a wide receiver 1. He is the top wide receiver in an offense that has one of the top 5 fantasy quarterbacks. He will get a lot of work, and as long as he stays healthy, he will be fine. And as of right now, it looks to be that he is going to be ready for week 1. Andrew Luck has a minor foot injury. I'm not taking too much into this. They'll probably rest him up pretty much until the season starts. I'll be honest, I haven't usually been on the Andrew Luck train. This year I am. I think you can get him at a little bit of a value because he's coming off the injury, and he's been looking really good in preseason so far. So I kind of like Andrew Luck for this season. So Jay Ajayi has been sidelined over a week at Eagles practice with a, quote, lower body injury. See the air quotes, lower body injury. He's had problems with his legs, even coming out of Boise State. So this isn't a big surprise. that's one of those running back backfields that we kind of want to avoid simply because there are so many bodies, and for right now, it's a crapshoot picking one on who it's going to be. So, moving on. Delanie Walker, very confident he'll be ready for week 1. That's good news. He's a solid start. Everyone heard about Odell Beckham Jr.'s big contract. Good for him. He deserves it. Really, the guy has just done nothing but perform his entire career. Mike Evans returned to Bucs practice on Monday. I'm still a little hesitant on him because Jameis Winston being out, and even then his catch rate isn't all that great. He's a guy that I'm kind of holding off a little bit on. I'm probably actually going to move him down a little bit in my rankings. So we'll kind of see. Adrian Peterson's goals this year to help this team win a championship and continue being the best player in the league. He hasn't been the best player in the league for a long time. And so Adrian Peterson is a solid value play late in drafts. But for right now, unless you've got the extra space, I'm not necessarily actively going after him either. So Saquon Barkley with his hamstring participated in 7-on-7 drills. The Steelers acquired wide receiver Ryan Switzer and a 6th rounder in 2019 from the Raiders in exchange for the Steelers' 5th rounder. Switzer, if you remember, was a Trubisky target, I believe, at UNC, was drafted by the Cowboys, then traded from the Cowboys to the Raiders, I believe, at the end of last season. Beginning of this just at the end of last kind of the free agent period, and then he gets traded again. I could see him possibly being a kind of a slot type guy, kind of a Eli Rogers type. Mainly, his job is to be a return guy. Let's be honest. So that's all I really see out of him. So I'm not seeing that as a major thing. Let's see. Cardinals running back DJ Foster carted off ACL injury. He was a backup to David Johnson, so fantasy wise that's not a huge deal, but hope that he's able to get better soon and be able to get through this and come back next year. The Browns, this one's kind of interesting. The Browns' Hugh Jackson said that Josh Gordon will not start in the opener against the Steelers, even if he's 100%. However, he will play. He's just not going to start. So he doesn't play the first snap. Whatever. If he's going to get in the game, it's definitely something to look at. So a couple more things we'll kind of go over. Jaguars coach Doug Marrone said he is comfortable with the team's receiving options following Marquise Lee's season-ending injury. There's not a whole lot there. There's a little bit of experience. Dede Westbrook's young. Keenan Cole's young. Moncrief really is the most experienced receiver there, who could do a little bit, but mainly that offense for the most part is going to go through Leonard Fournette, so Bortles doesn't have to throw the ball. And let's see. I think for the most part, okay, this one's just funny, so we're going to do this. Adam Gase said that Devontae Parker still can't catch a ball. He doesn't know yet if he can play week 1 versus Tennessee. We're 2 weeks away from the opener. In my opinion, Kenny Stills is still the wide receiver to own there on that roster. I think Kenny Stills is a good value play to pick up late as kind of a coin toss. So, all right, so that's kind of it for the news and notes of the big stuff that's kind of happened in the last little bit. So, okay, so I'm going to get into this mock draft again. This is going to be a 10-team snake PPR mock draft. The roster positions: 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end. I'm going to do 1 flex. I actually play in a league very similar to this that I actually do 2 flexes. But for tonight, a lot of people only play with 1 flex, so I'm just going to do 1, a DST, kicker, and bench. I probably won't even get that far into this draft, to be completely honest. So I am using the Fantasy Pros mock draft app, their draft simulator. for this. And since we're actually doing video tonight, I'm actually going to share screen so you guys can watch and see who gets drafted where, if you're going to watch this on YouTube. I'll make sure to post the video so that everyone can see this, and so that I can, actually put it out there, and so everyone can make fun of me for who I don't draft if you feel like going that direction. Honestly, I have no problems with people making fun of my mock drafts. To be completely honest, the draft just kind of sets you up for the season. So here we go. I will be drafting 9th out of 10. So we're going to start this off. The first 8 picks: Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, Antonio Brown, Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, DeAndre Hopkins. That leaves Odell Beckham Jr. as the number 1. It's what the experts say is the top guy to go after right now. I would have to agree. Oh, here, let me actually make sure we share the screen so that it's actually on there. Share screen. All right. So this is what we've got going on. So Odell Beckham Jr. It says that he is the person to go with at this point. I would have to agree. I like Odell right here, and so he could absolutely ball out this year. So after I took Odell, Julio Jones and Michael Thomas were the next guys to go. Now, again, we're doing a PPR league, and so there's a couple different ways this could go. If you remember my running back podcast, I'm a little hesitant on Melvin Gordon because of this being PPR, and I love Keenan Allen. You look at what San Diego has in terms of their tight ends. They don't have Antonio Gates anymore, and Hunter Henry's out, I believe, with an ACL injury for the year. Keenan Allen's it. They'll have Mike Williams and Tyrell Williams. Keenan Allen is still that number 1 target. So I am going to actually buck the standard and go with Keenan Allen. Now, what I want you guys to look at is, as we go through this, I can actually go back. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start off, I'm going to go Keenan Allen and see where it goes from here. So after I took Keenan Allen, it went Kareem Hunt, Melvin Gordon, Fournette, Cook, McCaffrey, Devontae Adams, A.J. Green, Devonta Freeman. I don't know if you noticed, there's a lot of running backs being taken. That is okay. Because so many running backs are being taken, that is leaving a lot of elite talent wide receivers available. Now, because I've already taken 2 wide receivers, the mock draft simulator is going to suggest, and the experts are going to agree, that I take a different position. But if we look at the top wide receivers available, we still have the number 10, 11, 12, and 10, 11, 13, and 14 wide receivers available. Now, you may call me a homer. I like Doug Baldwin here. I also like T.Y. Hilton. I think that T.Y. Hilton, for the most part, is a little tied to Andrew Luck in terms of his production. If Luck goes down, I think that Hilton's production goes down. I am actually going to go, call me crazy, I'm going to go with Doug Baldwin here because, again, he is still that number one offense there. So Doug Baldwin's 2% of the people agree. He has a bye week of week 7. Now, usually I would say don't worry about bye weeks. You can if you want. I'm going to go ahead and just, because the bye week, it's a coin flip for me. The bye week is what sends it over. So I'll take Doug Baldwin as my flex. So I have 3 wide receiver 1s as wide receiver, and flex. Okay, so now we get to this point. We've gone through. T.Y. Hilton is still available. That's because I was pick 9. So Larry Fitzgerald and Travis Kelce were then taken. So this leaves me with, I could go with Zach Ertz, Alex Collins. I could go Aaron Rodgers right here. Go ahead and pick up my big-time quarterback. Kenyon Drake is a possibility at running back. If we look at the top running backs available, Collins, Drake, Miller, Ajayi, Freeman, Dion Lewis, Derrick Henry, Ingram, Burkhead. So that's kind of the list there. With where I'm at right now, I like Alex Collins. I'm okay on Kenny Drake. I'm more in the Lamar Miller camp, to be completely honest, because he's more likely to catch the ball out of the backfield than Collins. Drake very well could, but I'm not so sure about their offense right now, to be completely honest. And so for me, I could go Aaron Rodgers. I could go Zach Ertz. I think personally, I am going to go with Zach Ertz. I'm actually going to take that, one of the top 3 tight ends right here. Okay, and so after I take Ertz, Hilton, Thielen, Rodgers, Cooper, Landry, Tate, Thomas, Drake, then Smith, Schuster, Ingram, Robinson, Tom Brady, Brandon Cooks. Okay, do you see how many wide receivers have now been taken? And there are still running backs that I am comfortable with because of how big time my wide receivers are. So I'm willing at this point to take Lamar Miller. And it's possible that in the next couple picks afterwards, I could get Russell Wilson in the process. So I'm going to go ahead and take Lamar Miller. Nope. Carlos Hyde went right after, and Russell Wilson. Okay. So now we've got Cam Newton. Cam Newton is solid. I'm willing to wait a little bit and take Andrew Luck and build up my core everywhere else. I'm okay with taking quarterbacks later. So if we look at this, I'm stacked at wide receiver. There are some good wide receivers here that I wouldn't mind having. I do want to get that solid number 2 wide receiver. Because it's PPR, I really like Dion Lewis. Now, people may talk about his inability to stay healthy, but if I could take Dion Lewis here, and possibly if you look at a little bit down the road, Tevin Coleman, Chris Thompson, and Duke Johnson, all big-time pass-catching, Tariq Cohen, big-time pass-catching receiving running backs who are going to be utilized a lot in their offenses. I'm willing to wait on them and use them as my running back too. So for right now, I'm willing to take right now Dion Lewis, see what else comes up, see what wide receivers are available a little bit later, see what running backs are a little bit later. Again, I want to keep my eye on the quarterbacks. I already have a starting tight end. And so right here, I'm actually going to go a little bit against the grain, and I'm going to take Dion Lewis. All right, so after I take Lewis, Deshaun Watson, Cam Newton, Josh Gordon, Jimmy Graham, Chris Thompson got taken, Delaney Walker, Greg Olsen, Marvin Jones, Drew Brees, Carson Wentz, Ben Roethlisberger, Corey Davis, Kirk Cousins, Chris Hogan, Randall Cobb, Alshon Jeffrey. Look who's actually available that I kind of like. And again, I kind of want to stay away from that Philadelphia run game. So if you see what's available there, let me get out of these. See what's available there. Look what quarterback is available. That I said I'm really kind of high on this year. So I'll take Andrew Luck. Now, if you look at over here, I've got a lot of that 8 and 9. Again, I only use the bye week for coin flip purposes. I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit. My team may not look like this. I may trade half these guys away through the season, and so I'm okay. I'm liking how it's looking so far. Now, at this point, a lot of people are still saying draft Jay Ajayi. Again, I'm not necessarily comfortable with Jay Ajayi. There's too much going on in that backfield. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of Rex Burkhead right now. Coleman's still available. Tariq Cohen's still available. We've got more wide receivers to kind of fill in the defense or fill in my bench. Again, at this point, I could take Jay Ajayi. I'm not going to. Rex Burkhead, the New England defense or the New England running backs, I'm not all that comfortable with. Marshawn Lynch is kind of iffy for me, so I don't necessarily want to take like a Tevin Coleman, Tariq Cohen yet. Those guys I'm waiting on. Chris Carson's still available. He's going to be the starter in Seattle. I'm willing to wait on him. Peyton Barber, James White. These are guys that are very valuable. So when you take all these wide receivers, these big-time wide receivers, in the beginning of your draft, these guys like Carson, Barber, James White, Tariq Cohen, these are guys that are going to be used in their offenses that will step into a larger role if something happens to the running back ahead of them. That is what happens when you use this zero running back strategy. Okay, so that's kind of how I feel. And so if you look at what I've got, Andrew Luck, Lamar Miller, Dion Lewis, Odell Beckham Jr., Keenan Allen, Zach Ertz, Doug Baldwin. Perfect. I mean, I like that starting. My defense, my kicker, those could fluctuate anywhere. I may stream both those positions the entire season. So the bench, there's lots of stuff in here to use as the bench. There, like I said, there's PPR type running backs, guys that could step into full-time positions to be used. There's I could possibly pick up another tight end to use as a flex if I think that someone's going to be solid there. For the most part, because I have Zach Ertz, I don't necessarily feel the need to take on another one because I have 3 number 1 wide receivers. So that's how I go about it in the zero running back draft strategy. Now, here's what's so great about going back to or on this Fantasy Pros draft wizard. So I'm going to go revert pick all the way back to, let's see, we're going to revert pick, all the way back. So I've taken, go back to, okay, so back to the beginning. So back to the beginning. So we've got Todd Gurley, Bell, David Johnson, Antonio Brown, Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going to take this draft a little bit different. Because I've reverted back to here, it's going to change things up. Not all the picks are going to be exactly the same. However, Odell Beckham Jr. is still that number 1 guy taken, or number 1 guy available. He's still going to be my number 1 pick. So here from now, interesting. So now that we've kind of redone this, Julio Jones and Michael Thomas, again, with the next 2 taken. If you remember right, and you look back, Melvin Gordon was the overall top guy to be taken by the experts. They are the ones that said that. However, now it says Keenan Allen. Now, looking at it, I could go with Keenan Allen. I could go Kareem Hunt. I know there's a lot of questions about Kareem Hunt, a lot of questions about Leonard Fournette and his health. Kareem Hunt with the play calling. Melvin Gordon, again, I'm still not comfortable with. So let's go to, but here, just for the sake of it, let's say I like Melvin Gordon. I like Kareem Hunt more than Melvin Gordon personally. So I will take Kareem Hunt. So now I've got a number 1 running back, a number 1 wide receiver. So here's what happened now that I've gone wide receiver and running back. After I took Kareem Hunt, Melvin Gordon, then Keenan Allen, Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Devontae Adams, A.J. Green, Devonta Freeman rounds out round 2. Round 3, Gronk, Joe Mixon, Jerick McKinnon, Mike Evans, Jordan Howard, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, and LaShawn McCoy. Now, see, a whole bunch of running backs have still been taken, but I've still got one of those top tier, one of those, kind of tier 2 elite running backs on my team. Perfect. Here, I can still start working through wide receivers. I could take Travis Kelce as a top tight end. I'm willing, again, in terms of tight ends, I'm willing to kind of step back a little bit, take someone a little bit farther down the line. I could take Travis Kelce here. I like Doug Baldwin, like we said earlier. But for me, I think I'm actually going to go Travis Kelce. We're going to see how this works. We've kind of worked running back, wide receiver, tight end. And T.Y. Hilton and Baldwin come back to me. Now, again, we've got the bye week issue. Odell Beckham Jr. week 9, T.Y. Hilton week 9. I'm going to go, again, Doug Baldwin. So now we've gone Kareem Hunt as a running back, Odell Beckham Jr., Doug Baldwin, Travis Kelce. Most people would agree that that is a pretty darn good first 4 picks. You've got a number 1 wide receiver who could finish as the top guy. You've got another wide receiver who will most likely finish in the top 10. a running back that last year was the number 1 rusher in the league, and then you've got Travis Kelce, who is the number 2 tight end. This is a solid start to a draft. We're still going a little bit of receiver, quote unquote, receiver heavy, but you've got Kareem Hunt. At this point, do we take Russell Wilson? As that number 2 quarterback? I definitely think that could be a possibility. Again, we go to Lamar Miller, Marvin Jones. Looking at the running backs again, we've got Dion Lewis, Lamar Miller. There's a lot of options here. So for those of you who are following along on the video, you'll be able to see, for those who are on the audio, after I took Doug Baldwin, Hilton, Thielen, Amari Cooper, Ertz, Landry, Tate, Demaryius Thomas, Kenyon Drake all went to finish off the 4th round. Round 5 was Smith-Schuster, Ingram, Allen Robinson, Tom Brady, Brandon Cooks, Alex Collins, Royce Freeman, and Derrick Henry. So like I said, I've got that elite running back. I'm willing to take a quarterback here at Russell Wilson. I could wait a little bit lower. Like I said, I like Andrew Luck. I think that he could finish in that top 5 again. I like Russell Wilson. I think that he's still going to be able to run the ball. I think he's going to be protected a little bit better. So again, just to see how this turns out a little bit different, we're going to go Russell Wilson. So after Russell Wilson went Lamar Miller and Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde's been jumping up the ranks. Let me see, where is his? Let's see. Where's Carlos Hyde been going? Carlos Hyde. His average ADP is about 65 in a 10-man. So yeah, he went a little bit ahead. He's definitely a guy that I would look at as a kind of a back end running back 2, possibly running back 1 if you go really extreme on the 0 running back strategy. So, all right. So I still need a second running back. I need a flex. Lamar Miller's already gone. Here, so remove him. Yeah. All right. So here's what we have available in terms of running backs. I've got Jay Ajayi, Dion Lewis, wide receivers, Marvin Jones, Josh Gordon, Chris Hogan, Corey Davis. I really like him. I need a running back, a flex. I have the quarterback. There's a lot of good options here. There really aren't any bad options. Again, I'm avoiding Philadelphia right now. J.J. is having kind of some of the injury issues. It's a crowded backfield that's going to be used a lot all over the place. I'm willing to take Dion Lewis again here. I think that could very well be a very good pick. Marvin Jones. I'm a little bit hesitant on Jones simply because I think Kenny Golladay could take a little bit away from Jones. Although Jones had a great season last year, it's very well could be that he keeps that up. So for me, I need a second running back. I need a flex as well. I'm going to go ahead and take Dion Lewis, get that second running back that I really like, and see where it goes from there. So after Lewis went Deshaun Watson, Cam Newton, Jimmy Graham, Josh Gordon, Chris Thompson, Greg Olsen, Carson Wentz, Marvin Jones finally went at the end of round 6. Round 7 was Drew Brees, Chris Hogan, Kirk Cousins, Corey Davis, Andrew Luck, Matthew Stafford, Randall Cobb, and Alshon Jeffrey. So a run of quarterbacks all went, but I got the one that I wanted. So now we're looking at I need a flex. At this point, I'll just fill out my flex, and then we'll call it good from there. We'll kind of look to see what's down the line and what directions I could go. So in terms of what's available right now, the flex, again, Jay Ajayi, Rex Burkhead, Marshawn Lynch, Tevin Coleman, 10-man league. I want to be a little bit stronger than kind of those guys as my flex. I like them in backup roles, possibly as a second running back, but I've already got a solid running back. Do I have a wide receiver that's going to be targeted a lot? Jamison Crowder could be. Marquise Goodwin is definitely got to look at. He's been going earlier and earlier in drafts. So I could take Goodwin here. Here's my thoughts on Michael Crabtree. He's in an offense that just has been horrible for wide receivers lately. Last few years, Joe Flacco has been worse than David Carr in terms of getting the ball to wide receivers and wide receiver production. They've said that they want to lean more on the running game. So I don't like Crabtree, even though the experts, 36% of the experts agree that he's the best pick here. I'm going with what I like. Emmanuel Sanders, Sammy Watkins. Problem with Sammy Watkins is he's behind Tyreek Hill in that offense. Could be big, but he hasn't had a whole lot of production. They've been throwing the crap out of the ball to Tyreek Hill. So I'm actually more willing to go Emmanuel Sanders here. He's becoming one of Case Keenum's top targets in camp. And so I would rather actually go Emmanuel Sanders. I think he's going to get targeted a lot. And so that's where we're at. And what do you know? Crabtree's still available. Jay Ajayi is still available. At this point, I would probably go Marquise Goodwin for my next pick. And kind of wait down the road for, say, Duke Johnson, Tariq Cohen. Again, we got Chris Carson, Peyton Barber, James White, Ty Montgomery if you want to go that route. Wide receivers that I still like down the road. Marquise Goodwin, Pierre Garçon I'm still okay with. I think that both he and Goodwin are developing a good rapport with Garoppolo. Jordy Nelson, I think, is a great value pick if you can pick him up late, just to put him on your bench. He is definitely one to look at. We talked a little bit about Rashard Matthews. Tight ends, I like the value in Ben Watson to watch from the waiver wire. He's a guy to keep an eye on. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of how to run my drafts. How to be adaptable a little bit, look to see what's available, what you like, what you don't like, looking down the draft to see who could still be available later, and play it from there. And again, your draft is about setting up for the rest of the season. You could have the perfect draft and lose every week. It can happen. So, so again, here, my second draft, Russell Wilson, Kareem Hunt, Deion Lewis, Odell Beckham Jr., Doug Baldwin, Travis Kelce, and Emmanuel Sanders. Maybe a little bit weaker at flex than I was earlier. I actually liked I liked my first draft better, having Andrew Luck, Lamar Miller, Deion Lewis, Odell Beckham Jr., Keenan Allen, and Doug Baldwin with Zach Ertz. I think that's probably the stronger team overall. But this also sets up as a good basis for going down the road as well. So yeah, that's all I've got for tonight. I hope that you guys are enjoying the content that we've been putting out. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, since you won't be listening to this tonight the night that I record it. Again, everyone have a wonderful day. Look for our next episodes coming up. Again, we've got some surprises coming up that we're trying to finalize details for. We're really looking forward to making some of these announcements. So, again, everyone have a wonderful day, and I hope you guys come back. This has been the Skull King Fantasy Football Podcast. Thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you guys later.